you can't see me because I'm... Oh crap, the illusion wore off. I'm not anymore. And neither is season 4 of... Okay, stop it. Stop it. Okay? Alright. That's right, my friends. Invincible Season 4 is finally ready for our viewing. And my goodness, this opening episode wastes no time in getting started. That is honestly how I would describe this first episode. Straight to the point with zero wasted runtime. We got conflict, we got character conflicts and dynamics, and of course, we got Paul. Thank God our boy Paul survived season 3. Before we get started, obvious spoiler warning for Invincible season 4. If you haven't watched the first 3 episodes of the season yet, go watch those first before you watch this video. Last thing I want to do is ruin this amazing show for anyone. But knowing me, I'll find a way to do it anyway. But that is enough delaying. Let us have a look at Invincible Season 4. The first episode of Invincible Season 4 opens with a montage showing us the aftermath of Invincible Wars and the Conquest battle. We see Mark and Oliver barely having any time at home as they're flying around keeping the world stable pretty much 24/7. We also see Cecil taking a bath in some kind of pinkish purple alien looking fluid? Is that for his health or to prolong his life or something to keep his artificial skin on his body? Even though poor Mark has suffered so much for this planet, people are now starting to look at him almost with like a sense of fear and confusion about whose side he's really on. You know, the kind of look you give someone if you don't really know if you can trust them or not. And that is no doubt doing Mark's mental health zero favors. And unsurprisingly, in dramatic moments like this, we get one of those shower scenes where our protagonist is cleaning himself up after another day's work, stuck in an endless loop of contemplation and reflection. And when he sees his own reflection, all of his trauma flashes before his eyes. And just as Mark is about to get a breather, just as he's about to get some rest, he gets a notification that Furnace is wreaking havoc somewhere. So Mark heads into Oliver's room and tries to get him back up for the next job as the poor kid is just trying to relax a bit. Oliver makes it a point that there are other people out there helping, but Mark reminds him that a lot of heroes are gone after everything that's happened. Oliver acknowledges this, but Mark still tries to strong-arm him into getting up and getting back out there. And things escalate quickly between the two as Oliver says under his breath,
"It's not my fault everything sucks."
If Debbie hadn't stepped in right here, right now, I wouldn't have been surprised if these two had a fight. And I'm talking like a proper fight. Because it's clear that everything that has happened to Mark has pushed him to his breaking point. Not just what happened in season 3, but season 2 as well. Mark hasn't had the proper time to fully recover from such traumatic and horrible events, and it's making him lash out at the people around him. He needs to heal, but Mark doesn't believe that he deserves that. And that is a dangerous combination for anybody, human or Viltrumite. Meanwhile, over at the GDA, Cecil is trying to convince Rex. I can't call him that without thinking of the real Rex. It just breaks my heart too much. Cecil's trying to convince them to rejoin the Guardians officially since, you know, for the last few months, they've all been working together anyway. Amanda reminds everyone of what Cecil did to Mark, and Bulletproof is in full agreement. He questions how they can know Cecil won't make those same kind of plans for them.
He does have those plans.
Damn, that was a little too real. But they accept his offer after Black Samson vouches for the Guardians. Samson says that even if they get an inkling of a smell that Cecil is up to no good, then all of them will handle it together. Even though Black Samson as a character is pretty simplistic, I am a sucker for a simplistic voice of reason type of character. Back out in the world at large, Mark receives a call from a construction site requesting Invincible's aid. He shows up, the crew has no idea what he's talking about, and then Dinosaurus shows up and starts spouting philosophy before attacking Mark. Dino makes an interesting argument about the recent events and how they're affecting the world. He believes that all the lives that were lost and all the destruction that happened in the prior season are a chance for the Earth to get something of a fresh start. With so many people dead, there's fewer mouths to feed, places where human populations aren't as dense anymore, and so on. His argument kind of reminds me of Thanos' views, funnily enough. Planet on the brink of collapse, not enough resources to go around, war, pollution, hunger, all of that could be fixed if there were just less people. Although in this scenario, Mark was the cause of all this death, and now he's trying to fix everything that has happened. And Dino really thought he was that guy. He really did. He thought he was that guy and tried to kill Invincible. Emphasis on the word try. Mark just rips off his armored medical braces and kicks his ass. Turns out Dino is actually a human who turns into Dino, but remembers nothing about what happens when he transforms. Two entirely different personalities and minds even, sharing a body. And after Mark beat Dino back into his human form, he was clutching his throat pretty tightly before the Guardians showed up. I'm getting the sense that Mark might have been thinking about killing him. But before we even get a chance to contemplate that, we get one of the most impactful interactions in this entire episode, at least in my opinion.
Mark, is everything all right?
What do you think?
Later that night, we get the long-awaited confrontation between Mark and Eve's parents, more specifically Eve's father. With Eve's dad knowing Mark's identity as Invincible, he absolutely lays into him at the dinner table. Chicago, the war, all the death and destruction that lies in Mark's past, all of it, he just lays into him. And later out on the porch, when it's just the two of them, Adam gives Mark a perspective. The only 2 times that Eve had even come close to dying, it was for Mark's sake. He tells Mark to think about that and then walks away dramatically to leave him all alone to his thoughts, which is not something Mark needs right now. It seems like almost everyone on the planet is blaming Mark for all that's happened. I guess in a way, Angstrom was right. They completely ruined him. Meanwhile, in the house, Eve's mom is expressing her happiness for her daughter and how, not everyone is lucky enough to find someone truly special. She phrases it as, sometimes good enough is good enough. I don't know about anyone else, but I think Eve's mom is alluding to her daughter that she's not and maybe never was fully content with her marriage. I mean, what relationship doesn't have its flaws, right? Nothing's perfect. But there is a difference between something being not perfect and not right. And to me, at least, it sounds like Eve's mom is alluding to the fact that she feels her marriage was and is teetering on not right. Maybe she's even alluding to a divorce or something. Although that one I highly doubt, just a random theory. I wasn't expecting character development for Eve's mom, I'll tell you that, but I'm not upset about it in the slightest. After that scene between her and Mark in season 3 at the GDA hospital, I was genuinely excited to see some more interactions between Mark and Eve's parents. Oh, that's strange. Why is Eve's coffee melting? Later that night, some Dumbledore wannabe shows up and starts stealing the light from streetlights. Man, Invincible fell off. Can't even make an original wizard character. Fast forward to the next morning, and Mark apologizes to his brother for the other night and how aggressive he was being. Mark expresses his gratitude for everything Oliver's done, and Oliver accepts his apology and tells his older brother that he understands. There really is nothing in the world that can bring two brothers closer together than getting torn apart. No, not like that. And upstairs, things are going quite well between Debbie and Paul. Paul, my boy, is trying to be appropriate about their relationship. Not wanting Mark and Oliver to see him leaving Debbie's bedroom. But Debbie basically tells Paul to, take a chill pill, relax, don't worry about it. The boys know what's up, and they know Paul makes her happy. I mean, that's how Mark is, but Oliver's just a straight up savage about it.
You and Mom make almost as much noise as Mark and Eve, and I never say anything.
Goddamn, son. Later in the day, Oliver gets a new costume from Art, the absolute goat. I love Art. And Oliver's new costume still has the O symbol on it. Oliver expresses to his mother that he knows what it used to represent and who it belonged to, but he fought all those Invincibles and Conquests in that symbol, nearly dying while wearing it. He triumphantly declares that the symbol doesn't belong to Omni-Man anymore. It belongs to him now. Oh, and me. Belongs to me too. Debbie gets a flashback to when Nolan first got his costume, and damn, that dude used to be way different. At first he hated it, and then Debbie stroked his ego a little bit and told him how good he looked, and then Nolan did a total 180 and thanks Art for his craftsmanship. What a guy. But back to the present, Debbie says that if Oliver can pick his battles, he can pick his own costume. And this is an important moment for Oliver. His mother is seeing how he's growing and maturing and is essentially telling him that he's more than earned the right to some more freedom of choice. It's a significant moment in any child's life when they realize that their parents are beginning to show more approval of their ability to choose and judge. And on the note of Debbie, later on, Paul proposes the idea that they move in together. Debbie was shocked, mainly at the fact that she hadn't really thought about it or considered it at all. Paul, being the absolute gentleman that he is, tells her to take her time to think about it and to not rush anything. But after stumbling over herself only a little bit, Debbie says that she doesn't need time. She needs a future, and she believes that future exists with Paul. But unfortunately, the good times don't last. That Dumbledore knockoff we saw starts stealing the energy of a power plant, and The Sequids are back. Great, just fucking great. The demon jellyfish back at it again. Here for a moment, I thought our poor heroes might actually get something of a break. At least with villains like Furnace and Curse, you can just take them out in a couple of minutes and then move on. But the Sequids, that's a whole different story. While the Guardians are containing the Sequids with an energy dome, neural disruptors, and teleport darts. When did the GDA get those? And don't you have to be like wearing something on you to be teleported, or at least have an earpiece? I don't know, who cares? Anyway, while the Guardians handle that, Mark and Eve are dealing with the Dumbledore knockoff. As they're fighting, she tries to tell them that her people are dying and they need that energy to survive. Mark says that he's heard it all before, that it's all for some higher cause or for the greater good, or they're trying not to hurt anyone out of malice. Remind anybody of Angstrom before the accident? Mark thought he kicked her ass as he picked up her staff, but it turns out you need to be worthy to wield the staff, all Mjolnir style. So Mark's down for a second, so Eve's got this, right? Right? Oh boy. That ain't good. Good thing Eve can still throw a mean punch. With the energy thief dealt with, Cecil shows up to ask for their help with the Sequids. Mark tells him Eve is in no condition to fight since her powers aren't working, so it would just be him. Cecil gives Mark an earpiece and swears that there aren't any tricks or anything this time. Even if there were tricks or any of Cecil's nonsense this time, it's not like the Sequid threat is super optional. Without a disruptor or teleport dart launcher, Mark is on the support. He's flying around grabbing all the infected hosts and bringing them to people who do have the disruptors and dart launchers. And with that extra support, Robo Rudy Rex informs Britt, who is now Guardian Commander, that he detects a large number of life forms beneath the surface. And he strongly advises that they should head down and investigate immediately to ensure that not a single Sequid host slips away. And you know those bastards are slippery. Britt orders him to not worry about it since the dome extends underground. But with the dome's integrity dropping, Monster Girl gives him a nod. He jumps out of his suit, grabs his dart launcher and disruptor, and heads into the sewers unprotected. And he continues to pilot his suit above the surface via that neural implant, so Britt is none the wiser. The only reason Rudy got as lucky as he did is because the Sequids waited for him to regain consciousness after they hit him over the head. I guess as a predatory species with something of an intelligence, they enjoy taunting their prey. But by the skin of his teeth, he teleports himself and the other hosts in the sewers back to GDA headquarters. But back on the surface, there's only 6 of those Sequid hosts left. The Guardians get them with Mark's support, except for one. The OG host, the poor bastard who's been under the Sequid's control for so long now, Russ Livingston. The dome's integrity starts failing, the Guardians' equipment starts failing, and Mark is pinned to the ceiling. The Sequids taunt Mark and, I guess, the Earth as their victory is near. But that was their last mistake. Mark has been holding back this whole time, and he just goes absolutely full power on getting out of the trap and making it to Russ. Mark tried to get someone to bring him a disruptor, but it seemed like no one was coming, so Mark, kills Russ Livingston. But to be honest, it was kind of an unintentional mercy killing. Remember how messed up Russ was after he was freed the first time? The likelihood of him fully recovering after being possessed for so long is near zero. Sure, it was a little brutal, but the dome wouldn't have held out for much longer. The Guardians look at him in shock, and the way Robo Rudy says,
Invincible?
really conveys that shock. And the episode ends with exactly what I knew what would happen. Cecil, you're an idiot. You think the tungsten cube meme is funnier than Conquest's mere existence? Of course he's gonna break out and go God knows where. Fucking moron. Also, how the hell did Conquest survive? Mark blew his head clean open, just like he did with Angstrom. I know he survives in the comics too, but seriously, how do you survive something like that? Well, then again, it is Conquest. But there you have it, my friends. The plot of, hey, I said stop it, of Invincible Season 4, Episode 1 genuinely did not mess around. Cecil was absolutely correct in the prior season when he said,
and I don't think our enemies will be kind enough to take a break.
I gotta say, one of the highlights of this episode was the contrast between Mark and his mother. While Mark is working every day to make up for what he's done, getting hurt, barely having time for himself, barely having time to eat, and not enjoying any second of it, his mom is kinda living it up. Debbie's work seems good, her new relationship is progressing healthily, and she has 2 sons she's incredibly proud of. It's kinda the opposite of the majority of Season 1. Where things got better and better for Mark, they became scarier and more uncertain for Debbie as her marriage fell apart. And you know, finding out that her husband murdered the greatest superheroes on the planet, but we don't talk about that part. But this time around, it's Mark who's closing in on his breaking point. And speaking of Mark, it seems this season is further sowing the seeds for Rudy's motivation to need Invincible on his side. With Rudy doing small things such as just showing concern for Mark, he's clearly doing his best to gain his trust and friendship. At this point in the show, it's mostly unknown what exactly Rudy would need Mark's help for, but I imagine all the comic viewers out there already know exactly what's up. Even then, our not-so-robo-buddy anymore has kind of always been the mysterious type right from the get-go of Season 1. Either way, I'm very curious to see how Rex and all the other people in Mark's life continue reacting to this major change he's going through. When someone is struggling to heal and cope with all the horrible things that have happened to them and to the people around them, the reactions and responses of the people closest to them can greatly shape how a person ultimately changes. And the line between recovering and falling too deep to climb back out is very, very thin. But maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it'll all just work out and I don't know anything about. But what do you think? Do you think Mark will recover from all he's been through and not lose himself? Will Eve's powers go back to normal or at least become usable again? Be sure to leave all your thoughts, opinions, and ramblings in the comments below about this episode and this video. It feels pretty good to be back in the review saddle. I haven't done a review in a little while. Although I am a little exhausted from frantically trying to write, record, and edit a video about all 3 new episodes of Invincible. And I'm trying to do it all before the 4th one releases. I should be able to get a video out on episode 2 at least by Sunday, and then hopefully the one about episode 3 just sometime before Wednesday. Maybe on Monday, or who knows, maybe even I'll put it out on Tuesday, who knows. So on that note, stay tuned. And if you enjoyed the commentary and if you enjoy my coverage of Invincible in general, even if you're just an Invincible fan in general, just period. If you don't like me, doesn't matter. If you're an Invincible fan, be sure to hit the like and sub button. I would greatly appreciate that. And of course, if you really enjoy the way I do things and you're excited to see more Invincible and you want to show me a little bit of extra support, please consider becoming a channel member. Not only do you get access to a whole bunch of exclusive rewards, but you also directly support me in the process and literally help me keep a roof over my head. But that is going to do it for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah,